Hey everybody, it's almost mid-April, so it's about time we do the top 9 game for the month of March. So before I get into that, let's have a look at the stats. So in March, I've played 34 different times with 25 different games. 21 of those were my own copies. So that means we played about 5% of my base collection, which I think is not bad in 1 month. And let's have a look at what the top 9 is. So in number 9 position, I have Draftosaurus. Draftosaurus is a fairly new game that I purchased recently. It's neat. It plays super quick. It's a simple game to teach. It's a simple game to learn and to play. But it's neat and puzzly. And to me, it feels like a roll and write without it being a roll and write. So you start by drafting 6 dinosaurs that you'll have in your hands. And then somebody rolls the dice, and that dice is going to have a limitation of some sort, where you gotta put your dinosaur in a certain area of the board, or where you cannot put it into a certain area of the board. So it's kind of interesting. So then you roll the dice, you place a dinosaur, and then the 6 dinosaurs that you have, or 5 dinosaurs that you have left, gets passed on to the next player. The dice also gets passed along, and you do the next one, and you place the next dinosaur, and you keep doing that. Now the spaces on the board are going to have different requirements. One needs to have a different dinosaur, so you can't put the same dinosaur on there twice. Another one needs to have all the same dinosaur. One likes to have just 3 dinosaur, doesn't matter which 3. Some of them is you will only score on the pairs of dinosaurs that you're able to put in there, and different things like that. So when you're placing all these dinosaurs, once the 6 dinosaurs have been placed, you draw another 6 and you do it again and kind of keep going. So you'll have 12 dinosaurs on your board at the end of the game, and then you kind of tally up the scores of all the different locations. Whoever has the most points is the winner. Such a neat game, super easy to play, so it's an easy one to get to the table, and it looks cool. In number 8 position, I have Crib. I haven't played cribbage in such a long time. I was a little bit rusty on the rules, so me and Lee pulled it out, and this is such a neat classic game. I'm an Acadian. I grew up playing crib, so we have the crib board in the middle, and you have your little pegs, and that's how you keep track of your score as you play. We play 2 players, so each player gets 6 cards from a regular deck of cards, and then you look into them and you pick 2 to put in the crib, and you take turn being the recipient of the crib. So when it's on your side and your turn to get it, you don't mind putting points in there, or cards that have high potential of getting points. If it's on the other side, you're trying to put kind of crappier cards if you can. Then you'll take turns playing 1 card at a time each side, and then you get to peg on those as well. So if the other player plays a 10 and you get to put a 5, then you're going to score for doing 15. So every 15 scores you 2 points. If you're able to create a run, or if you have a pair, that's going to score as well. So you peg while you play your cards, then you peg your hand of cards, and you count how many cards you've kept in there, and then you kind of peg for those. And then whoever has the cribs will look at those 4 cards and will peg for that as well. And then you reshuffle, and the crib goes to the other player, and you go around, and it's the first one to get 121 points is the winner. Neat game. I love this one. Lots of nostalgia associated with this one. Then in my number 7 position for the month of March is Tiny Epic Dungeons. So this one finally arrived. It was a Kickstarter for Tiny Epic, and it's so cool. It looks amazing. You start with the middle tile, and you got like the 4 that kind of goes off of it, and you slowly kind of travel into this dungeon. You're looking for items, you will come across monsters that you'll try to defeat, and you just kind of go around until you find the entrance for the big monster, and then you're going to try to defeat the big monster, and so on. It's fun. This is a neat, fun game. We played it, and it was fairly easy, which is what made me realize we weren't playing it right, because I had heard a lot of things about it, but one of the things I was hearing was like, wow, this one's hard. And it wasn't hard for us. Not really. I don't know if we won. I think we did, but it wasn't as hard as it made it sound to be. So I was like, okay, we're probably playing this one wrong, and we were. Every round you're supposed to move the monster track ahead, and we were only doing it if we rolled it on the dice, so we were barely moving it. and that's why. So next game is going to be a little bit less forgiving, but yeah, I'm excited to play it again. It was a neat game. Then in number 6 position, we have Cascadia. So Cascadia is another one that's fairly new to my collection. And this one feels like you're doing 2 puzzles at the same time. So each round you're going to draw a tile and its associated token. So there's 4 tiles and 4 tokens that are matched, and you pick which combination you want. You're going to add the tile into your starting area, and you're trying to create bundles of the same terrain. And the bigger your area of the one terrain, the more you're going to score for it. And you're trying to keep the different terrains together to kind of create the largest area. But then you also place these tokens on top that have different animals on it, and it's all animals that you'll find in North America as well, so it kind of matches our region here. And depending on which animals you have and where you put them, they have different rules, and those rules are going to change every game because you have different cards for each one, and you'll select one. So the trout's going to score this way this time, and the fox is going to score in this way, and so it changes up, and you're kind of putting the tokens, trying to score as high as you can, and you're trying to put the tile to bundle everything up as well as you can. And then the tiles also have limitation of what can go on there. So be like, great, I really need a trout there. I'd like for that to be a forest, but this forest is only going to take a fox and an elk. So I'm not going to put this forest here. I'm going to, so kind of interesting decisions to do, but it is in its core fairly simple game. You draw a tile and a token, and you place it on your board, and you kind of create your board that way. So it's simple yet very kind of interesting decisions to make. Then in number 5 position for the month of March, I have Raptor. Now, Raptor is such a neat game. I've played this one a few times, kind of dusted off the shelf and played it again, and it's still so good. This is a 2-player game. One person plays as the mama raptor and the babies, and the other one plays as the scientist, and we each have different goals. The scientist is trying to capture 3 babies so that they can study them, or tranquilize the mama raptor 5 times so she's out and you can get to the babies safely. And then the mama raptor is trying to protect her babies and getting them to escape, or eat all the scientists so that there's nothing to worry about. And what's really neat with this one is, well, first of all, it looks great. The way that you put the board together, it's neat, and you get the little baby raptor miniatures and the mama raptors, and then the different scientists that goes on the board. But the action selection is so interesting. So you have a deck of cards from 1 to 9, and you shuffle those and you draw 3 cards. Then you're going to select one to play, and you'll put it face down. The other player is going to do the same thing, and then you'll reveal at the same time. Whoever has the lowest card gets to do the top part of the action. So they'll have unique actions you can do on the top of the card, and you get to do that. Whoever has the highest number will get to do their regular actions, and the number of actions you get to do is the difference between the 2 cards. So if I had a 9 and the other player played a 4, I would have 5 actions I get to do, which would be great for me. Now, if I had played a 9 and they played an 8, I only get to do 1 action. So it's an interesting, on that action selection. I hadn't really come across that. It reminds me a little bit of Get Bit, but it works so well with this one. It's such a neat game, and that's Raptor. Now, in number 4 position for the month of March is Marvel Legendary. So I'm a big fan of Legendary and Legendary Encounters. I have Aliens, I have Predator, I have James Bond, and when this one came across on the marketplace on Facebook, that is, somebody was selling their copies, I was all over that. So I went and got this copy, and it's so cool. It follows the Marvel's neat, like you have all the heroes that you can play, and you can play different scenarios. So you select your bad guys, and then the different bad guys that will be involved with it, and the different superheroes that's going to be involved, and you just kind of set it all up, and it plays like the Legendary one. This is a deck builder cooperative games. So you have your starting deck, you're going to recruit more heroes to your cause. The monsters are going to start coming out, and they come through the sewers and then make their way through the city, and you need to try to defeat them before they escape. Because once they get to the end, if you haven't defeated them, they get away. And you have a requirement that what you're trying to do, and then, you know, kind of try to have as little escapes as possible. There's also innocent bystanders that sometimes get trapped by these villains, and they're making their way across with them. It's so neat. It's really fun, and I really like the theme of this one. That kind of really sold me on this one. Oh, let me show you pictures. I haven't even shown you pictures. So this is what this one looked like. So it's bright and colorful, and you know, we have that cartoony artwork to it, so very cool. Then in number 3 position for the month of March is Mystic Vale, the Essential Edition. I've spoke of Mystic Vale often. This makes my top 9 list many times because it's such a cool game. And this one is the Essential Edition, so it's just recently released, and it's Mystic Vale with 3 expansions with it. And I sold my original copy and I bought this one just because I was too tempted. Mystic Vale is a card crafting game, so not really a deck builder, because you're buying cards but you're adding them to the existing cards that you have. You start with 20 sleeved cards and you're going to end with 20 sleeved cards, but you'll be upgrading your cards, making them more powerful as you go. I haven't played with a lot of the expansions on this one. We just added the token that first time that we played, and instead of having the mana token, the way that that works is when you play, you flip your card over and you'll show a red symbol, and that's decay. If you show 3 decay, you should probably stop, because if you show a 4th one, you will bust and not get to do nothing your turn. But maybe you will push and then hope that you get an empty card, and then if you bust, then you kind of pack up your cards and not playing this round, but you get to flip your mana token and you have an extra mana, which is the money, I guess, in this game for purchasing new cards. So in this one, instead of having the mana token, you have this badge, and it has different abilities. So with mine, it made it that I had to push at least once. When I revealed the 3rd decay, I didn't have the option of stopping. I had to flip at least the next card. If I didn't reveal another decay, I'm good. I get to do my turn. If I did reveal another decay, I bust and I have to flip my badge over. But now this badge gives me a special ability of something I can do. And every player had a different badge that did different things. So that's the change that I played with this one based on the base game, but I haven't looked into the other expansions yet. So I'm excited to play this. Also, this one came with a mat, so you could put the mat in the middle of the table, which I think is a great idea, because Mystic Vale is playing with see-through cards. So depending on what you got going on your table, your card is kind of see-through to the table, so you don't necessarily get to see them very clearly. So having the mat made it easier to view all the different cards. My one complaint was there's not a room on the map for the deck of cards that you're going to be flipping from, but I suppose you don't need to see those ones. But it would have been nice to have a designated space for those ones as well on the map. Then in number 2 position for the month of March is Chronicle of Crime. I love this game. This game is so cool. And there's a crime, you show up, you have to investigate it, you got to look at the clues, you got to ask the people, like the different suspect that you come across, or the witnesses, and you can ask them about the victims, you can ask them about the weapons or anything that you've seen, you can ask them about the other suspects that you've kind of come across, and you're trying to unravel the story. And this is more than you're just trying to find out who the murderer is, but you're trying to find out who the murderer is, what was the reason that this happened, who was the accomplice, or like there's different things you need to discover, and you're just kind of piecing the story together. Now this is app driven, so this all happens on the phone, and so you have the scene and you got your phone and you're looking around to see what you can find, and you call out, say, okay, I see paper over there, and there's food over there, and then I think there's a weapon, and oh, there's a lot of blood there, that's the victim, and then you pull out the cards of everything that matches what you saw. Then you can go and scan those cards and see if you'll discover clues. Then the clues go on the board. Sometimes like, no, that's nothing, just put that aside so you don't worry about it. And then you go and you can scan the person, the witness, let's say, and then say, okay, well, what can you tell me about the victim? And what can you tell me about the necklace that we found on site? Or what can you tell me about the murder weapon? Or what can you tell me about this suspect that we heard about? You know, so you kind of, asking all these things, and the more people that come into the story, then you get their character card to get added. It's neat. It looks cool. And I haven't even shown you what it looks like, but this is at the end of the game, so you have the different location of where you can go, where those people are, all the clues you've collected. So fun. And obviously this one we played around St. Patrick's Day, so that's why I had my St. Patrick's Day tablecloth on. Love this game, and that's why the Chronicle of Crime was my number 2. And then in number 1 position, I have Marvel Dice Throne. Now, Marvel Dice Throne is not currently out in retail. It's not even out in Kickstarter. This is a pre-production copy from Roxley Games. And that's the benefit of being in Alberta. Sometimes you get the proper connection that you can see these games a little early. So we played this 4 players. We just did kind of like a 1 versus all 4-player game, and I was Doctor Strange. One person was the Scarlet Witch. We had Loki on the table as well as a Spider-Man, and it's so neat. Dice Throne is great. Each character has a bit of a unique ability, and then they play slightly differently, and they have separate different abilities and different things that they can do, and Marvel does the same thing, but those match the character. So for me with Doctor Strange, I had the ability, if I failed in an attack, I could rewind time and do the battle again and try again, because I have control over time that way. It was neat. Really enjoy this one. I cannot wait for my copy to come in, and I mean, Roxley makes amazing game. The components are always great. The box is amazing, and then the trays that everything comes in is just like the season 2 and season 1. So they're so good, and I just love this game. So I cannot wait for my copy to come in. Now this is a recap of all the games that made it into my top 9 for the month of March. If you want to follow me on Facebook, my Facebook page is Disbury and Area is playing all the games. I am also on Instagram as boardgame_mama. I also do a podcast with my friend Carla, and it's called The Board Game Specialist. We post a video every week and do a bunch of top 9 lists on there, so be sure to check that out, as well as my YouTube channel, which is Board Game Mama. So be sure to stay tuned and see which games makes my top 9 for the month of April. So far this game is shaping up pretty this month is shaping up pretty good, and I've gone a little bit crazy in purchasing games, so I have lots of new games I need to try that hopefully will make the list. So be sure to stay tuned for that. So bye everybody.